Welcome to my live. This is the first live that I have done. My name's Faye, I am the chronic crafter and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the UK. So today's live I wanted to do a little bit of an exercise on tidying up the products I have. So I've titled today's live Sort Your Stash, which is something I'm sure many of us out there need to do. And this applies to people who are crafting from their kitchen table all the way up to people who have a dedicated craft room. So I have been paper crafting for 8 years now, so I have an awful lot of product that's built up over time. I've seen things that I like that have recently come out and I really want to buy those products, but I don't have the space for them. So that's partially what inspired me to do this live today. My main motto for today's live is going to be systems save time. Now, we're crafters. The more time you're saving tidying up, the more time there is to actually craft, which is always a win in my book. So I'm hoping today to go over some tips for spaces all the way from a basket on your kitchen table right up to if you have a craft room, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to make this video available to watch back later. So firstly, how do you know when it's time to let go of a product? I'm sure we're all in a situation where we've got things around us in our craft space that we haven't touched for a while. We bought it for a particular reason, but we then haven't got round to using it. So my first thing for how to know if it's time to let go is, do you like it? You know, you might have been gifted it, you might have won it, you might have bought it thinking, oh, it would be great for such and such to make them a birthday card, but do you like it? Is it something that you want to craft with? So that's the first thing to bear in mind. Number 2, do you have project ideas for this product? Are you looking at it thinking, oh, I could do this, such and such would love that? Is your mind brimming with ideas, or are you looking at thinking, what am I supposed to do with this? If you're looking at it and you're thinking, what am I supposed to do with it? Then maybe it's time to part with that item. Number 3, do you know someone who will like the cards that are made with that item? So I have things in my craft stash that are not my style. They're not things that I would like to receive on a card, but I have them because I have people I know will like those things on a card. So it's not going to benefit me to get rid of them, because when it comes around to their birthday next year, I'm going to need those items again. So if there's someone specific in mind for the item, you're possibly going to want to keep the item. Number 4, and this is quite a big one, do you have space to store the item? If you don't have space in your craft room and you see something that you want even more, you can't have the thing that you want because you don't have space to store it. And unfortunately, as much as we might try, we can't make our space any bigger, right? The space we have is the space we have. So if you're running out of space, might be time to have a little sort through. And number 5, which is also quite a big one, is it easy to use? Did you buy something thinking, this is incredible, I want to craft with this all the time? You then got that item and you then found out that you didn't like how your cards looked when you use it. You couldn't work out how to use it. You've worked out how to use it, but it still doesn't look like the ones on Instagram. Maybe that item isn't for you. Now, by all means, go off, have another play, watch some tutorials. But if you're not liking what you're seeing at the end, why hold on to that item? So those are my first tips for knowing when it's time to let go. So once you've identified that you no longer want a particular craft item, what do you do with it? Yeah, you can't just leave it sitting in the corner for forever. So I've got 3 ideas of what you can do. Number 1, donate to charity. There are some charity shops, not all charity shops, but some charity shops have a specific craft corner or a craft basket in the shop, and they would love to have any items that you'd like to donate. Number 2, you could give them to a crafty friend. So if you've got a friend who's thinking about trying paper crafting and you've got some things that you're not sure about using anymore, then you could give them those items so that they could have a play around, get to have a go. And number 3 is to sell your items on Facebook Marketplace or on eBay. There are some absolutely fantastic Facebook groups out there, some for specific brands, some just for general scrapbooking, card making, that will let you list your old items at a price you set and you can see who's interested. So don't just let things pile up. Once you've decided you're going to get rid of something, follow through and get rid of it. So once we've gotten rid of the things that we no longer want, how do we store what we do have? Now, this will depend on how much space you have, but wherever you are crafting from, try and have a dedicated storage space. So when I was crafting from our kitchen table, I had a crate, just one crate, and that was where all my crafting things were stored. If they didn't fit in the crate, then I had to get rid of something before I could get something else. That was the space I had, right? You can't change that. So you've got to work with what you've got. I now have a craft desk, I've got a trolley, I've got some storage next to me, so I have much more space to have products, but I still need to keep it sorted. So how to store them? My first tip is for dies, magnetic sheets. So the Stampin' Up dies all come in these lovely cases and it will tell you what the die set is. And then you can have this sheet on one side and on the other side you can add a magnetic sheet to hold all of your dies in place, and it makes them easier to get into the packet and makes them easier to store. They're not going to slide around and you can see what you've got. So that's my first tip. My second tip relates to when you're storing your stamps. Stampin' Up stamps, and a lot of stamps to be fair, come with 2 acetate sheets. You have a thin sheet and then you have a thicker sheet. And what I've done with my stamp sets is I have sellotaped down my thicker acetate sheet. The stamps don't like to stick to the inside of the case so much, but they do stick really well to the thick acetate sheet. So I've taped that down, the stamps are now firmly staying in place, and if I was to take this set on a retreat perhaps, or if I wanted to go out and craft with some friends, the stamps aren't going to slide around, whereas if you have just the sheet, you know, they can move around in the case. So that's a really nice way to keep them neat. I do also love the fact that the Stampin' Up stamps come in these DVD cases. You've got the images on the side there of what your stamp is, so if you did want to store these on a bookcase, then that would go really nicely. You could just see the spines. Number 3, is to keep stamp and die sets together. So if you have purchased a stamp set that has a matching die set, keep them together. I know a lot of people like to keep stamps in one place, dies in another. That works great when you have individual sets, but when you have things that need to go together, to work together, keep them together. So, you know, the die cases are really thin. They could just sit next to stamps on a bookcase. Then you got your next stamp and die set and go along. Keep them together, because there's nothing worse than finding your stamp and then not being able to cut that out because you haven't got the matching die. So always keep them together, please. My next thing is to keep the dies that you use for sentiments handy. So dies like this that don't have, no, I don't want to say a particular purpose, but that don't go with a specific stamp set, keep these handy, because these are what you're going to want to use when you're adding a sentiment onto your card. You can have all sorts of these. So if I reach over, so I've got some tags. This is the Stylish Shapes dies. I'm absolutely loving these at the moment. And then I've got the Perennial Postage dies. So I keep these sets together in easy reach, because if I want to add a sentiment onto a card, the chances are it's going to be one of these four that I want. So there's no point having those tucked away somewhere. Pretty much every card I'm using one of these sets. And then my last tip for how to store items: put your seasonal items away. There's some absolutely beautiful Christmas card making supplies, but when it gets around to sort of January, February, you don't want to make Christmas cards. Now, I appreciate some people do like to start early. There's Christmas in July, which is always a lot of fun, but you don't need access to your Christmas card making supplies year round. You just don't. So put them away somewhere. You can get really nice folders, nice big zipper bags, they're called, and you can tuck away your seasonal supplies, pop them into some storage, bury them at the bottom of your stash, and then when it gets around to the point you want to make Christmas cards, whether that be July or October, you can then reach for that one folder and you have everything you need Christmas. You've got your stamp and die sets together, you've got individual stamp sets, you've got your beautiful papers, all there in one folder. Grab, go, make. I don't need it in August, so that's why that's tucked away, or even in June, which is where we're at the moment. Tucked away, out the way. So we've got our products, we've sorted out what we don't. Some people are like me and like to just craft all the time and end up with a huge stash of cards. Now, this is great if you have a birthday for perhaps a cousin or someone that you suddenly need a card for. The kits that Stampin' Up do, the boxes that the kits come in, are absolutely fantastic. They're sturdy cardboard boxes. So they are cardboard, they're not plastic, but they're pretty sturdy. And you can see I've added a label to this one. Looks like it was birthday. It's now general. You could just write on the box because it is cardboard, or I've cut out a nice die and written on there. And in these, you can fit 2 stacks of cards, unless they're really big ones. But you can fit 2 stacks of cards in there, and you then have your very own library of cards to look through if you needed a card for a particular occasion. So that's a really, really nice way to do it. Keeps them safe in there. But my biggest tip for this is use what you already have. So don't feel that you need to go out and buy particular storage for your craft items, for your craft projects. Use what you have. I'm sure everyone has got something that came in a box around their house, and it just so happens to be a card-shaped box, because I have loads of those in the cupboard behind me with different cards in there. So use what you have, but if you've used the Stampin' Up kits, those boxes are fantastic for storing the cards in. So at the start I said systems save time, and I would say that this is true if you follow the tips I've shared today, because if your stamp and die sets are together, you're not rummaging around looking for the second part. They're there together. You can get on with being creative. If your stamps are all organised in their case, they're there. You can see what you've got. You can get on with being creative. If you've got easy access to the dies that you use for sentiments, they're there. You can reach for them. You can get on and be creative. This also really helps when it's time to tidy away. So everything in my craft room has a home. These dies live just behind the camera there because I want easy access to them. This stamp set also lives within easy reach because it's got some really nice sentiments on there. And then my stamp and die sets also have a home and they live together. So systems save time. Better systems, more time for crafting. And that's always a good thing, right? So thank you very much for watching this video. I'm hoping that I'll be able to share it on my YouTube and that it will be able to watch back later for those of you who haven't been able to make it. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Go do some crafting. Go have a sort out. I'd love to see what you create. Bye.